Those of you on TikTok may already be acquainted with Joshua Block, aka World of T-Shirts. And if you aren't,
now you're in New York!
Prepare yourself for one hell of a discussion. Today's conversation will cover mental illness, substance abuse, and the exploitation of vulnerable populations by business-savvy individuals, and I won't pull any punches in my critique of a society that allows disabled people to fall through the cracks. As always, our discussion will be grounded in physiology as it pertains to all of these topics. I first heard about Josh in the context of alcoholism through TikTok viewers watching him drink himself to death. And while we will talk about alcohol abuse and addiction and their effects on the human body, Josh's story is much more than just an affinity for the bottle. Before we proceed, I want to make clear that my role as an orthopedic surgeon does not qualify me to make diagnoses about mental illness or disability. However, in this specific context, it strikes me as necessary to consider the possibility of Joshua Block living with the disability, or more specifically, exhibiting traits associated with Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, as such a framework will enhance our understanding of Josh and the particular challenges he faces. As it turns out, I'm not the only one who believes this to be a distinct possibility. Since so many people have associated Josh with autism, it will be helpful to establish a framework for what the term actually means. Allow me to introduce you to Dr. Nick Walker, whose introduction to autism is very helpful in this regard. Autism is a genetically based human neurological variant. The complex set of interrelated characteristics that distinguish autistic neurology from non-autistic neurology is not yet fully understood. But current evidence indicates that the central distinction is that autistic brains are characterized by particularly high levels of synaptic connectivity and responsiveness. So, if I may interject for a moment, even in 2024, we don't know what causes autism with any certainty, despite many attempts to identify a definitive causal gene or biological markers. However, some people within the autistic community don't feel it necessary to identify a root cause, as they argue such a thing has no bearing on the way they live their lives and the systems and social structures that affect them.
Shut up, bitch. I'm not autistic. I'm smarter than all of you.
But let's go back to Dr. Nick for a moment, who goes on. This, namely the aforementioned high levels of synaptic connectivity and responsiveness, tends to make the autistic individual's subjective experience more intense and chaotic than that of non-autistic individuals, on both the sensory motor and cognitive levels. The autistic mind tends to register more information, and the impact of each bit of information tends to be both stronger and less predictable. Now, I will leave a link to Dr. Nick's definition in the video description, as it is worth reading in its entirety. But for our purposes, we will stop here. The piece about intense and chaotic subjective experience is extremely pertinent to Josh's situation, who lives in perhaps one of the most hyper-stimulating environments on Earth. Furthermore, Josh is constantly surrounded by people who are actively exacerbating the hyperstimulating aspects of his environment, whether this be fans approaching him on the street or people who claim to be his friends, and so on.
My name is Mr. Based. I'm the world's greatest streamer. Why is this group walking past me?
But we'll get into all of that. I also want to point out that while we may not know the exact cause of autism, we do know that it predisposes people with it to substance use and abuse.
I'm not going to be an addict, are you?
If I don't cut down on my drinking, I'm gonna die.
As well as abuse at the hands of other people.
I still get taken advantage of.
We're a great team, you know that?
The last two clips come from Alex Novell's YouTube documentary, The Twisted Tale of Mr. Based and World of T-Shirts, which is an eye-opening piece of journalism that we will return to frequently throughout today's lesson. Without further ado, let's start talking about alcohol. These comments from another one of Alex's videos entitled World of T-Shirts, Living with Autism and Alcoholism in New York City, offer a narrative basis for our understanding of the link between alcohol and autism. You'll find similar testimonies testimonies and stories on the Autism and similar threads on Reddit. And as you might expect, the link between autism and substance abuse is well documented in scientific literature. In a 2011 study, Lundstrom and colleagues highlighted in no uncertain terms a 6 times higher risk of substance abuse in persons with Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, in comparison with persons without autistic traits. This excerpt from Devin Price's Unmasking Autism might help understand why that might be the case. Autistics who mask tend to suffer from intense social anxiety, and some of us learn to self-medicate that anxiety. We may also reach for substances to help blunt our sensory issues or help us pretend to be more confident.
Maybe I can take you to the Bahamas.
Oh, period.
And pay your way.
So when I see Josh in a relentlessly overstimulating environment, either the streets of New York or as seen here on Mr. Based's live stream,
It's too stressful. My life is terrible.
Bloody Mary, sir. Man with the terrible life.
yeah, I'm pretty concerned. Slightly off camera to the left is Mr. Based, a 57-year-old former pimp on a mission to cash in, cha-ching, on the most engaging content possible, no matter the cost, bro.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest streamer of all?
You are Jason!
He is constantly enabling Josh's alcoholism and encouraging him to drink more and more. It's a perfect and very disheartening storm.
Oh, no, 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 no!
Ow!
Come here, let me.
Ow!
Helping Josh drink to the point of collapsing on the street in the middle of the day.
Pull trig, Josh!
Or pulling trig on the street in the middle of the day. Which is, well, why not? Projectile vomiting is as good a place as any to start our physiological discussion of alcohol abuse. Many of you will know firsthand that alcohol overdose can result in vomiting. This is, in fact, the body's natural defense mechanism to expel a toxic substance from the system and reduce the amount of alcohol absorbed into the bloodstream, thereby minimizing a myriad of harmful effects. As you can see, alcohol's effects on the body are widespread. The brain, the heart, the lungs, the liver, hell, even your GI tract, bones, and immune system are negatively affected by long-term alcohol consumption. Off the top of my head, the 3 most dangerous complications that come to mind are perhaps liver cirrhosis, which causes scarring and potential liver failure, alcohol-related brain damage resulting in permanent cognitive impairment and an increased dementia risk, and heart disease, which weakens the heart muscle and increases the risk of heart failure, stroke, and arrhythmias. We'll give an honorable mention to alcohol-related cancers. You know, good old-fashioned fun. Generally, if you're consuming 3 to 4 drinks a day, serious risk factors will rear their head after 5 to 10 years. And it's only downhill from there. After 10 to 20 years, you're really asking for trouble. Now, from what I can tell through videos and streams, Josh is likely drinking a lot more than 3 to 4 drinks a day. And if the information on this Reddit thread is accurate and he only started drinking in November 2021, we're coming up on 3 years of heavy use. His body is suffering, but there is definitely time to curb the long-term effects. However, in Josh's case, long-term effects are not my only concern. Drinking to excess can change your life in just one moment. As blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, increases, so does the effect of alcohol, as well as the risk of harm. As you can see, if Josh drinks to excess daily, he's really playing with fire, especially when surrounded by people like Mr. Based, who encourage him to do so.
What do you like the most about hanging out with Jason?
I don't know. I like the free alcohol.
No, that's the worst thing you could say, Josh.
Come on, it's fun drinking with you.
But I know, but he said what's the best thing?
What if the next time he vomits, he's unconscious and no one is around to help clear his airway? This is a real possibility, as I have personally had a family member die in this very manner. What if he has a seizure, gets into a street fight, or is hit by a car? What if, well, you get the idea.
My grandfather's worried about me being with you.
Unfortunately, Josh's grandparents, his sole caregivers after the untimely death of his mother, are likely getting up in their age and find it difficult to support his behavior.
I told him I'm gonna move out of the house. They said that would be great. I'm such a handful. flu, because I come home at 4 in the morning drunk every night.
I've never heard mention of his father, who may not even be in the picture, and with a fractured familial support system, Josh is especially susceptible to people like Mr. Based, who give him things to reinforce patterns of dependency.
I don't know, he's giving me money, he's giving me beer, he's giving me all this fun stuff. I doubt he's using me for a paycheck.
Now, according to the NIH, long-term alcohol consumption can alter the brain's structure and function, leading to compromised decision-making and uncontrollable chronic misuse. In essence, drinking physically changes the brain, resulting in loss of control and fueling further drinking. Add to this that alcohol's effects diminish quickly, leading to increased consumption to achieve the desired effect. If Josh's desired effect is self-medicating to quell the social anxiety associated with his growing notoriety as an influencer and the multitude of interactions that entails, I fear that his need for alcohol will outpace its efficacy therein.
I'm traumatized, by my mom's death.
I'm sorry about that.
Throw the urge to soften grief and emotional pain in the mix, and I mean, Josh is an extremely vulnerable individual.
You cannot stop Josh from drinking. He will die. He's at a stage of alcoholic that if you take away all the alcohol, he can die.
Now, although I have developed an intense distrust of Mr. Bass, I do agree with the sentiment that alcohol withdrawal could have fatal consequences for Josh, especially if mismanaged. Fatal withdrawal complications include seizures and status epilepticus, delirium tremens, or the DTs, leading to cardiac arrest or respiratory failure, and cardiac complications like arrhythmias, hypertension, and cardiac ischemia. So there's that. You may be very frustrated to learn that delirium tremens is characterized by tremor, anxiety, nausea, vomiting, and well,
I wouldn't say I'm a full-blown alcoholic. I have the shakes, I'm nauseous, I can't eat anything. I definitely have a problem, but I don't think it's full-blown alcoholism.
I mean, at this point, I don't think that it will be possible for Josh to quit or reduce his drinking significantly without some form of assistance or a viable support network.
You want another drink?
White Claw? Yeah.
You know, one that isn't always putting a drink in his hand. Yeah, maybe just a complete change in surroundings is prescribed. A 2024 article by Sarah Douglas and Felicity Sedgwick reminds us that autistic people are more susceptible to various forms of adverse life experience and abuse than non-autistic people. From bullying to ostracization to being victims of crime to unemployment and homelessness. This includes being victims of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and domestic abuse. There are many factors that contribute to such a high percentage, including communication challenges, difficulty recognizing or reporting abuse, social isolation and dependence, increased vulnerability to manipulation, challenges with sensory and emotional regulation, etc. Funny enough, most of these risk factors seem to apply to Josh and Mr. Based's relationship. Go figure.
Now you make a toast to me, a sincere toast about our new situation, or the job, whatever.
Cheers.
To what?
Coming over and getting paid.
Their relationship reeks of coercion as Mr. Based constantly isolates and manipulates Josh with seemingly no regard for his well-being. Worst yet, the main way Mr. Based makes money is through something called text-to-speech donations from viewers while live streaming. If a viewer makes a donation, their message will be read aloud for Josh, Mr. Based, and other viewers to hear. Unfortunately, the lion's share of these TTS donations are explicit attempts to antagonize Josh.
Turn that off.
Unemployed rat! You don't treat middle-class people like that.
And when Josh inevitably becomes overwhelmed, Jason responds like this.
Listen, you gotta practice laughing it off. We're rock stars. When they throw money at us for stupid reasons, just laugh about it.
Or like this.
End the stream.
End the stream.
What, you don't know how to use it?
After this one, wait, you gotta finish the dono. Hold on. We gotta make sure the dono's end, then I'm ending it.
I mean, if that's not coercive, I don't know what is. But hey, it gets worse, as unfortunately, Jason has made the link between Josh being upset and him making more money through donations. Need I remind you, this type of ongoing antagonization may be particularly overwhelming for someone with autism.
They're not even doing the TTSs now because they want you yelling a little bit. So be yelling but jokey, like you don't care. Just be fun. You guys, he'll react to the TTSs, not the little money ones.
Need I say again that this dude was a pimp? For a thorough exploration of all the ways that Mr. Based is taking advantage of Josh, I urge you to refer to Alex Novell's documentary. Sadly, and I do mean sadly, it gets even worse. And Josh has fallen prey to Mr. Based's manipulative tactics. If nothing changes, I'm afraid disaster is imminent. Unfortunately, those who send these hurtful TTS donations are also complicit in Josh's inevitable meltdowns, yet another sobering facet of life for many autistic people. To me, it's reprehensible that for many viewers, these meltdowns represent the most exciting part of watching Mr. Based live. In 2024, researchers asked 32 autistic adults about what it is like for them to have a meltdown, and found that most autistics described feeling overwhelmed by information, senses, and social and emotional stress. It's obvious that the environment Mr. Based strives to keep Josh locked within is designed to drive Josh to a state of being overwhelmed and cause him to melt down. Participants in the aforementioned study described trying to stay away from things or people that might trigger a meltdown. But by now, everyone on the internet knows Josh's particular pain points. His captain's hat, his dead mother, unemployment, disability, the loss of his passport, the list freaking goes on and on. And in his current milieu, it is not possible for him to avoid these triggers. What with Mr. Based coercing him to listen to people read their TTS comments aloud. Remember?
End it now, end it.
Wait, no, sit down. As soon as the donos end, we turn it off.
You're a loser.
I'm not a loser.
Hell, even when Josh lands in a foreign country, there are people waiting at the airport to film him as he gets blackout drunk on vacation. Guys, he's a human being in need of help, not a freaking zoo animal. Can't believe I even need to say that, but yo, here we are. Now, maybe some of you may have had the thought, if it's so bad for Josh, he should just leave. But hopefully our analysis has highlighted just how difficult of a task that might be for him. Where would Josh even begin? Where should he go? How will he afford it? Who can he trust? Would he even be capable of holding down a job in his current state, or even filling out the extensive paperwork associated with government assistance? Look, we know Josh's familiar support system is fractured, and because he is able to function within society to some degree, he may be perceived as having lower support needs and therefore less likely to receive assistance than other disabled people with higher support needs or more apparent disabilities. His grandparents are technically his guardians, and they do provide a roof over his head, but Josh is hardly there and obviously susceptible to the influence of others. He's a 20-something alcoholic with no financial prospects and in need of urgent medical attention. Too bad healthcare in the United States is so freaking expensive.
Hope something happens to you where you regret all the mean things you've said to me. I hope you yell at me in public and somebody beats the shit out of you.
At some level, Josh seems to be aware that Mr. Based is harming him, but perhaps from his point of view, Mr. Based is also very nice to him, giving him alcohol, attention, and showering him with love. If anything, the confusion this causes in Josh may drive him further over the edge. And don't even get me started on Zim. I don't have that much energy today. For those of you that still feel Josh should take responsibility for his life choices, I humbly suggest you check out the writings of Dr. Gabor Mate, whose extensive work with addicts has informed an incredibly eye-opening perspective. I will leave you today with one of his most Yoda-esque quotes. Don't ask why the addiction, ask why the pain. Meaning, to understand people's pain, you have to understand their lives. In other words, addiction is a normal response to trauma. And to fix the addiction, you need to first fix the trauma. If you found anything in this video helpful, then all I would ask is that you leave a comment and give it a big thumbs up to feed the algorithm. If you didn't like the video, be sure to let me know why in the comment section down below. This will help us to grow the channel so that we can create more engaging videos about human anatomy and physiology for you. We're working towards a goal of 1 million subs, and we would love to have you with us when we get there. Don't forget to follow my gym, Human 2.0 Fitness, for free right here on YouTube, where we post content that helps you move better and prevent injury. Or its sister channel, Human at Home, where we show you how to be healthy in the space where you live. Otherwise, as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris, not your everyday ortho, where we see one, do one, teach one.